Hera Books presents The House on the Water's Edge by C.E. Rose, read by Sarah Ovens. To my beautiful Emily, who makes everyone smile. Prologue. Distant sound breaks through her sludge of deep sleep. A baby is crying. No, not crying, but bleating and whimpering, imploring and scared. Her instinct is to help, but she's too frightened to move and she doesn't know why. Fractured images trickle back. A smiling family portrait, the rippling river Bure. Shadowy eyes that watch her, a presence at a door. Someone bad, very bad. And her own fist tightly wrapped around a glinting object. A knife. Oh God, is that really a knife? She forces herself out of the black tar of the dream. It's a nightmare, that's all. She has to be brave and just look. Nothing will be there. Nothing. That white face was just a symptom of her fragmented psyche. If she peers into the gloom, she'll see. Gently talking to herself, she blows out the trapped air and steels herself to move. She has to do this. She mustn't show weakness or illness or look odd. But the seeping coldness is there, isn't it? She really can smell it. A geranium-like stench, metallic and coppery and sweet. Which means they'll soon come too, vibrating, humming and buzzing, seething, teeming, invading. Covering her nostrils and mouth, she shrinks into a ball and tries to block out the terror, but the mewling is still there, becoming louder and shriller, more and more insistent. Oh God, the baby! She thrusts through the darkness. She must save the child. It's not any baby. It's hers. Part 1. Chapter 1. Ali, Mum's dead. That was my sister, breaking the news all the way from Canada. It was the last day of June, a raw, humid day, waiting for rain. The front door was open. The telephone yelled. I toyed with the idea of ignoring the call, but put down the watering can on what felt like the final peal. Ali, Mum's dead, said without preamble. She died at lunchtime, 3 minutes past 1. She was driving to Wroxham and crashed into another car. My mother had died, and as I stared at the delicate veins garnishing the pink and lilac petals of the wilting plants, my thought was, why does Laura always find things out before me? Laura, my older sister and my shadow, even though she lived 3,000 miles away. Joan Haig called to tell me the news. She's upset, so she asked me to contact you. She thought it would be better coming from me, what with the baby and all. Said as though I was mentally frail. Laura had no time for children. I've only had a baby. I'm not ill or inept, for goodness sake, I wanted to protest. But in truth, I didn't feel great. Though over a month had now passed, I was still exhausted from the birth, stunned, in fact. I was still so sore I could only sit comfortably on one buttock. God knows why the police phoned the Haigs first, but... Are you all right, Ali? You're not saying much. What happened? I asked. It was all I could think of saying. The forlorn-looking cat basket was still by the garage from Wednesday's trauma. Laura's words didn't feel real. They couldn't be real. Mothers didn't die on sunny Fridays. She was on her way to the hairdresser's, Laura began. This I knew. Mum was coming to visit us tomorrow. She was driving the 5-hour journey from Norfolk to Manchester to see her grandson and stay for a week. She'd suggested it on Monday, but all I'd thought of was meals and fresh sheets and dusting. I could barely get myself dressed and out of the house each day. Cleaning and entertaining seemed impossible. "Mum," I'd said, trying to keep the panic from my voice, "that's fine, but you will come as a helper and not as a guest, won't you?" "Yes, of course, love. I can't wait to cuddle little Joe again, and it'll be so nice to have plenty of time for long chats." I'd heard her intake of breath. "In fact, there's something I really need to tell you. Do you have 5 minutes to talk now?" Oh, God. I'd cut her off. Impatiently, too. I didn't have 5 minutes. I hadn't had a flaming second spare since Joe was born. "Let's save it until Saturday, okay?" Laura talked and I drifted. The flowers still parched, the air solid through the gaping front door. On the way to the hairdresser's. A banal way to die. Of course that's what Mum would be doing. Hair was a priority if she was going somewhere special. Her impossible hair got worse in the heat, and this June was so hot. Like others would search for a church on holiday, the first thing she'd find was a salon. Not for when she was there, but to look smart for returning home. Respectable hair. For the doctors or the dentist, for the theatre or meals out, for visiting her new grandson and me. As a helper, not as a guest. What an awful thing to say. And Laura was still speaking. "We don't know everything yet, but it looks as though she unexpectedly pulled out of a side street and was clipped by a car going too fast along the main road. You know what those country lanes in bloody Norfolk are like. I told Mum to take more care so many times after the whiplash, but she said not to worry, that she'd live forever." Laura's tone was efficient, irritated almost, and I was silent as random thoughts continued to waft by. I'd cut Mum off the last time we spoke. I'd deliberately not answered her 3 or 4 calls since then. But I'd thought I'd be seeing her in person very soon. I'd bought in plum jam, malted bread and blue-topped milk especially, and her favourite ice cream, still hiding deep in a carrier bag somewhere. Who on earth would eat them now? And my sister was right. Mum had promised to take care. She'd said she'd drive carefully and be here for us forever. Only she wasn't. Laura had just said she was dead. We were orphans, Laura and me. Orphan. Did it still count when one was 35? I tried the word a few times in my head. Orphan. Orphan. Before testing it out loud. "I guess we're orphans now," I said, not really believing it. Laura's voice cracked then. Laura, my proficient big sister who never cried, so I knew it must be real, even though I didn't feel it. "It's just so horrible, Allie. She was alive when the ambulance got there, but she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so you can imagine the injuries. They put a medical brace on her neck and she grasped it with her hand, to pull it off, I suppose, but her aorta had ruptured. There was nothing they could do. Oh, God, I hope she wasn't in pain." I watched Melissa from the house opposite lock her newly painted front door, climb into her car and reverse it smoothly onto the cul-de-sac. As she drove past, she lifted her palm in greeting, but all I could see behind a shattered windscreen was her slumped body, her face scored with pain, her hand clutching a collar. And blood, of course. Congealing blood. Always that. I blinked the image away. For God's sake, who the hell had felt the need to tell Laura that? "Allie, you're very quiet. Are you still there? Tom Haig is sorting everything out for us. We're lucky to have him. He'll know what to do as an ex-copper, and I can't just jump on the next flight. My diary is full up for weeks." My proficient and capable sister was back. Part of me was angry. Couldn't she just do something loving and spontaneous for once in her life? But the other part was relieved. It seemed easier to cope when Laura was Laura.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?